Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome back to Today in Woburn, our first episode of 2025. It was a busy, nice holiday season, but nice to be back in our regular routine. Welcome back, Mayor Concannon.
Good afternoon, Samantha. Nice to see you.
Yeah, glad to be here. We've got lots of things to talk about, but one thing I want to make sure we cover right up, because we know it's top of mind for lots of folks, is tax bills. The average tax bill did come in at just under $600 per household increase, which is what we were anticipating in the budgeting cycle. But, based on home valuations and things, it's different values for different homes. And we know once you actually get the bill and you start to look at, I have to pay it, it settles in a little bit more than when we're talking about it in the abstract. So wanted to just talk a little bit about that for folks, give them a sense of, remind them how we got here. And before we talk a little bit about the details, talk a little bit about the fiscal planning approach you've taken and the city council has taken that has led us to this point.
Yeah, so the tax bills certainly are top of mind for all of us. And I can tell you, I think about the implications of the budget and the impact on the tax rate and the tax bills every single day. I live in Woburn. I've been here my whole life. I have the same issues in my personal finances in my life as everybody. So I can tell you that is a driver in every discussion we have. We're very mindful of the impact of our budget decisions on the tax rate and the tax burden. So I can assure folks that I'm mindful of it. I think of it all the time, as do every member of the city council and the school committee and everybody in city government. And I understand that when the mail came this week, there was an increase to taxes. We have been talking about this for a while. We tried our best to get the word out, to at least give folks a heads up that it was coming, but you can't reach everybody, and I'm sure there were still some people who were a bit surprised at the increase. I guess I want them to know that I understand that, and I can assure them that the budget was developed based on the needs of the city. There's no extravagance, there's no unnecessary costs or expenses. That it is what it is at this point. We developed this budget back in last spring into the summer, presented it to the city council in June, had lengthy discussions and debates about every item in there. And I think if, just to restate it, which it's interesting because I'm preparing my State of the City remarks as we speak. I'll present those tomorrow night at the city council meeting. So all of this, is timely. But just to refresh folks' mind, the driver of the tax increase is the increase in the budget, obviously. And the driver of the increase in the budget was primarily, overwhelmingly, the increase in the school department budget. The driver of the school department increase was a few factors, but probably 3 or 4, buckets of categories. One being the settled contract prior to last year. That included significant increases. There was also the lack of state and federal COVID money that had dried up. We knew that was coming. This was the first year without that significant amount of money baked into our budget, almost $2 million. There was also significant increases in additional educational costs, homeless transportation, out of district, special ed costs. And there was a lot of state education mandated expenses that we really didn't have any choice but to include in our budget. I can assure everybody that we worked diligently all spring into the beginning of the summer, meeting on a weekly basis with our financial team and the school department's financial team to be sure that only those items that were necessary were included in the budget. So at this point, we're dealing with opening our tax bills that reflect necessary increases to our educational budget. The only other option to offset those increases would be to look into the other parts of the city budget and dramatically slash there. And I don't think that would be the responsible thing to do. We would be talking about significant cuts to police and fire, the other two cost centers in the city. And I do not believe this city would be served by cutting any of those positions. So, as was presented to the city council last June, this was the budget that we felt was necessary to meet the needs of the city of Woburn. We did estimate, a rough range of $600 to $800, the average tax increase. Fortunately, it came in the average at 583. I know that's only a little bit of comfort, but at least it's something. And part of my message tomorrow night at the council in the State of the City address is going to be to provide some of the context. And by context, I mean where we fit in with our neighboring communities and our, the tax rates of our friends in Burlington and Winchester and Reading and Lexington and Stoneham. And on average, over the last 5 years, we are still lower than any of our peers. Again, I realize that when opening that tax bill the week after Christmas, that may be a little bit of comfort, but it is the appropriate context for the discussion. And I guess I just sum up by saying I feel the pain personally, and as I sit in this seat, and I can assure people that we're doing everything we can to try to keep these rates and this tax burden down. We do max out on the shift between residential and commercial so that the residential component is the lowest it can be. If there was more to do there, we would consider it, but we're maxed out. And I would ask that anybody who has a particular situation that they just can't get by, there are programs available, abatement options. I would direct them to the assessor's office. They are our experts. They can guide people on a case-by-case basis on where they fit. But I'd also let them know that the city of Woburn is doing everything allowed by law to maximize the availability of abatements. So, as I said, I know the week after Christmas when the credit card bills are coming in, this is a hit, and we understand that, and we're trying our best to minimize that hit this past year and going forward.
Yeah, thank you. As folks know, I too live in Woburn and understand the challenges. We're lucky enough to own our own home, which is a privilege, but also can become a challenge when we have these costs. Not unexpected given the budget cycle, but a little bit of an ouch, and we're all going to work together to get through it. I did bring a couple people by the assessor's office today who had stopped in, so I think that was great advice you're giving people. One of them was potentially going to qualify for a program, so you never know. And they were actually really helpful for another person talking about something they don't qualify for today, but when they reach the next age bracket, which wasn't all that far away, that would be something that would be available to them. So really helpful folks there, and encourage people to ask those good questions. One of the things that a lot of people have asked about is that the mayor's office in general and the city overall did add more positions this year than we've had the year before, and wanted to give folks, and mathematically, as you mentioned, it didn't make a big difference in terms of the tax burden increase, but it's still budget and it's still money that is going against the city's budget. Wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about what you think have been the benefits of adding those positions, both in the mayor's office, but the other handful that we added in other parts of the city as well.
Yeah, to your point, we absolutely recognize that every single penny counts, and it absolutely does add up. So no one would ever minimize that. In terms of added positions in the city, it wouldn't surprise anybody, I'm sure, to know that the bulk of the added positions happen in the school department. A lot of that is driven by those state education mandates and requirements for staffing and appropriate skill sets to address the needs of the students. By far, that is where the additional staffing comes from. There's some other spots within city government, oftentimes there are positions that are listed in the budget that go unfilled, or there are positions that were once filled but are no longer funded. So each time at budget season, I know we did it this past spring, each of the department heads come in and they make their arguments and they give the update on the needs. And we try our best to fill needs, but to be cautious, again, of the impact of those positions on taxes. So we did a little bit of that this past spring. We filled a need or two here and there. But to the main question about positions here in the mayor's office, historically there have been two support assistant positions in the mayor's office. We have the receptionist, the secretary who runs the flow of the office, handles all the walk-ins, the phone calls, the emails, the correspondence, the filing, all of that. And interesting, a lot of people don't know it, but that position also serves as the receptionist for the entire building. And it's amazing how many people call the main number and have to be rerouted. So that's a pretty busy job, and it's been here forever. There had been another position that was vacant for a bit that we actually repurposed for the position you have, for your role, community outreach, which again, I think it's incredibly necessary. And again, if anyone is listening to the State of the City address tomorrow night, we're going to talk a little bit about the services provided, the needs met, the number of folks who have been assisted just since you've come on board. I would suggest that by any measure, that position has been wildly successful and beneficial to the city. The other position in the mayor's office is the chief of staff. And there hasn't been that actual position for a long time, if not in recent memory anyway. But it's something I felt strongly was needed. I can tell anyone who's listening that every mayor I've talked to has that position and relies on that position heavily. And I can even tell you that in my transition period with Mayor Galvin, we talked about that, in one of his bits of wisdom was to be careful not to understaff the office and try not to take on every single bit yourself, because you'll find yourself falling behind, things falling through the cracks, and you wouldn't want that. So I have added that position. Again, I thank the council for their support of that position. I think it's already borne fruit. It's made us a more efficient operation. We don't have matters lingering nearly as long. We're able to close the loop over and over and over again. And I think I know that the council in particular, and the department heads, as well as our state and federal delegation, will tell you that they see tremendous value in having that position. So those are the three positions in the mayor's office. The only other position that I've heard commented on was the substance misuse and mental health coordinator, which I guess technically does work within the mayor's office. But it's important to note that that position is completely funded by the National Opioid Settlement. So that is not costing taxpayers money. There's a 100% offset to every bit of that expense. And that was a position we had long ago as a part-time position. It kind of faded away for a while, unfortunately, but the problems that it's created, that it exists to solve, they have not gone away. And we were very, very fortunate to be able to select Mackenzie Diezik for that role. And again, along the lines of what your position has done to help folks, Mackenzie has already had an impact in our community, well worth the cost. And again, that cost is actually fully funded by the settlement. So those are really the only additional positions within the mayor's office and city government, a handful here and there. And when you look at the overall increase to the budget, it is a small amount of the positions we're talking about. But again, in no way would I try to minimize that, that there is an impact, and that every single penny we spend counts, and we're mindful of that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I know that we're working hard to be a more transparent government. We've published things like the city services dashboards. We're hosting forums and questions. And I know that these are important things. So I appreciate your candor and talking about this openly. I know you'll address it again in the State of the City address, but we do try here to think of the things and know the things that are top of mind for folks and address it. There's one little thing on the budget I do want to ask you about, and then we'll move on to other topics because there's a lot to talk about. And that is, there's sort of a rumor going around that all the department heads got brand new vehicles. And that has been a significant increase in the city. And candidly, if every new department head got a brand new vehicle in a given year, that would be a lot of money. But I wanted to give us an opportunity to just, clear the rumor and talk about what is true about vehicle purchases.
Yeah, so there's 22, 23 department heads here in the city of Woburn. And each of those department heads submits their capital budget request each year. Obviously, we have the operating budget that we just spoke about. And then we have the capital budget for significant capital projects that, one-time purchases that each department head submits and comes in and discusses each spring. Oftentimes, those department heads include things like vehicles, copy machines, maybe some supplies and materials to perform their tasks. Obviously, the DPW has different needs based on the projects that they're performing in each day. But this year, in terms of vehicles purchased for department heads, there was the fire chief got a new vehicle. His older vehicle was repurposed within the department, still had some life left in it. The police chief as well, his vehicle was repurposed to me. That's what I'm driving now, his 5-year-old vehicle, which is fine. Has plenty of life left in it now for me. And the DPW superintendent, whose vehicle was more than 10 or 12 years old, again, was repurposed. Those three positions, those are essentially our 24/7 public safety and public emergency response personnel. I felt it was appropriate to fund those capital requests. Other departments may have upgraded a vehicle here and there, but department heads across the board were not issued brand new vehicles this year. Our capital budget was in line with prior year capital budgets, and the purchases were also in line.
Great. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some other things that are going on in the city. This past Saturday, we held a recycling drive and collected almost 4,000 pounds of cardboard. And I have to tell you, thank you to every one of you out there who is watching, who participated, because every single person came with their cardboard broken down and only brought the cardboard that we asked for. Everybody really made this a smooth and easy event to run. As a person who was standing out in the cold alongside yourself and several city councilors, we appreciated everyone's cooperation, making it easy and smooth. But it was, a nice steady stream of folks, and we have had a few folks ask if this is something we might do in the future. I know we don't have anything else planned at this point, but I'll get your thoughts.
Yeah, so obviously we're looking at trash and recycling. We renegotiated the contract with Waste Management. People have seen the impact, the transition on the recycling. There'll be another transition with trash. So while we're having those conversations, we've also talked about other potential ways to serve the residents and even to save some money as part of the contract. Things like yard waste recycling, and even potentially things like cardboard recycling. So those discussions continue, but we felt it was really important as we rolled out the recycling and we came upon our first big holiday, and we know how many packages people were receiving, that there might be an issue with them trying to stuff all of those holiday packages into their recycling bucket. So we felt like, to try to take that pressure off a little bit, maybe we'd hold this one-time cardboard recycling event. I'll tell you, I was amazed at the number of people who came and the amount of cardboard we collected. Obviously, I was hoping people would come, otherwise there'd be no sense in doing it. But I did not think that we'd get as many as we did. So it does make me think that there may be an appetite for more of this. We'll continue to look at that. When might be the appropriate time to do that again. But we do continue to have those longer term discussions on how else we can, collect yard waste and recycling and plastics and even, larger household items here in the city in a way that makes it more convenient and saves money. So we'll continue to talk about that, and we'll provide updates when we start to nail some things down.
Right. There's a public hearing coming up in a couple of days. Is a proposed zoning amendment for 14 and 14R Federal Street. Because it's an unusual circumstance, it's not the kind of public meeting that happens an awful lot. I thought it might be helpful for folks to just understand what's being proposed there and if they want to participate.
Yeah, so there's a provision in the law that governs particular types of developments. It's Chapter 40R. It's actually the one that was used when the Woburn Village was approved. And one of the provisions calls for an initial public hearing at the outset of the process to gain input before it goes to the planning board and the city council for the traditional process. So that's what we're doing Wednesday night. We'll talk a little bit about the law itself, why there's this carve out. And actually the entity that is proposing the changes down here at Federal Street, I'm looking out the window, they will be there as well, because I know people will want to know, okay, you talk about a change in the law, but for what? What will it look like? So that entity will be there as well to describe what they would do with that area if this type of change in this petition is ultimately approved. But the real difference for this type of petition is the provision in the law that calls for this very initial hearing to just try to float the idea out there before it goes through the process. Anyone who attends or hears about it later will likely hear that we're talking about 14 and 14R Federal Street near the post office downtown, a development that would call for a building with upwards of 30 units, studio and single bedroom only, parking contained on site. Those are some of the highlights of the proposed development that would be cited there if approved, by the planning board and the city council as it makes its way through the process.
Right. So we encourage people to come out and, listen in. They will be recording it. So if you're not available, there'll still be an opportunity to listen, but it's always great to have folks in the room if they're available and interested in that. We were talking about vehicles earlier, and we did get to celebrate a pretty important vehicle right before the New Year's, right on New Year's Eve day at the Senior Center, and wanted to give folks a little bit of a preview of probably our happiest vehicle purchase this last year, and maybe the most important one.
Yeah, we were able to buy a 14 passenger van / bus for the Senior Center. Much needed. That the vans they use up there are in use every single day. I heard a figure 4,000 to 5,000 trips a year. There's so many people who love to use the Senior Center, and many of them can't get there on their own. This is the way we get them there. So we were very fortunate, back to the capital budget that we spoke about earlier. We put aside some money in the capital budget. We also got some state funding that helped us. And then there was also a contribution from the friends of the seniors up at the Senior Center. They kicked in $20,000 as well. So the combination of all those funds allowed us to buy a sturdy, safe 14 passenger van that allows all of those people who love to go to the Senior Center to be able to get there. Fortunately, well, because of all the use, we will be needing another van. And we've been fortunate that State Rep Rich Haggerty has worked hard on Beacon Hill to get some state funding that will allow us to buy a second van. That one probably won't come until late summer, early fall, but we're very appreciative of Rich's work to get that second van. It'll be a little smaller than this one, a little bit different, but will help to fulfill the needs.
Yeah, thank you. It's the senior center is such an important way to lead healthy and fulfilling lives. There's so many resources and things that happen there. And we're really grateful. The van is very well utilized today. And it's nice for this group to have something reliable and with, handicap access that works really well now. And I know they were doing a little test drive around the parking lot the other day when I was in there, and it's exciting to have something. And certainly our older residents who don't drive deserve an opportunity to have access to those resources and programming.
And I know they appreciate it very much. There was a big crowd on hand when we received the van, and they were very appreciative that this allows them to get out and see their friends every day, attend all these programs. It's their lifeline, and we're happy to be able to do it for them.
One of the things that we know is that, we talked about tax bills. That's something that directly the city impacts and such. But residents also have increases in energy costs, insurance costs, all kinds of things that are inflationary and challenging. And so one of the things that we did as a city, trying to be creative about helping residents, is we applied for a grant for what we've been calling an energy advocate. I'm not sure if that's what they'll end up being called in the end, but to help feel it. And we were awarded that grant. I thought it would be an opportunity for you to talk about what that resource will do. And again, this is something that other people are paying for, but hopefully we'll have a direct service to our community.
Yeah, so this is a position that's essentially funded by the utility companies. It's basically a position that that person would reach out to residents, business owners in the Woburn area to make sure they're aware of all the potential options to reduce their energy costs. So they describe it as the energy advocate position. We were one of a whole lot of communities that put in for this. And thanks to the strength of our application and the hard work of our team, Kevin McDonough, our grant writer, Karen Smith, Casey Haggerty, and John Cashell in the planning department, among others, put together a strong application demonstrating that the city of Woburn would make good use of this grant. And fortunately, we were successful. We were awarded the grant. It's for $85,000 a year for 3 years. If at the end of the 3 years, we feel that we did not see great value in it, we do not have to continue with it. But the hope is that this position and this person will do a great job of getting the word out. And so many of our neighbors and residents here in Woburn will be able to avail themselves of energy saving options that directly impact their pocketbook.
I'm super excited for this position. And look forward to working with them and helping make them accessible to community as that gets. We just got word of it, so it's going to be a little while before that's got somebody in the role, but an exciting opportunity. So thank you, Mayor Concannon, for joining us. As always, I know I'm really looking forward to the State of the City address. And for all those who are asking, well, I've talked to the mayor about it. I haven't actually read it, so I'm excited, as everyone else is, to hear that, and we'll be grateful for all the folks who come out. And it's, during the city council meeting, but the first thing on the agenda there.
And I am trying my best to winnow it down. There's a lot of information. There's a lot happening. There's so much information I'd like to share, but I do have to be mindful of the time constraints. So I've written a first draft, and now I need to cull it out a bit. All kidding aside, to your point earlier about explaining why things are the way they are and explaining the nuances and the background of the tax increases, I wish I had the opportunity to meet one-on-one with every resident. I've met with several residents already about this and had, conversations about the realities. And I can tell you that when I've been able to explain in detail why things are the way they are, I guess it doesn't really take the sting away, but at least it helps people understand that we do care about the impact and we care about the costs, and we're doing what we can to try to minimize those costs. But we also need to meet the needs of the city. And we need to acknowledge that in 2025, a city like Woburn with almost 42,000 residents, we have significant needs and we need to meet them. So I've had the opportunity, as I said, to meet with many residents and explain it in great detail. And I feel that when they have a better understanding, they can accept it a little bit more. Obviously, I don't have the ability to have 41,000+ conversations, But I do hope to spell out some of this in the State of the City address. So if people have the opportunity to attend or look at it later on, hopefully it does help in some way.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. I think that's very helpful. I am going to ask you a favor, Mayor Concannon. I have a lovely guest, Cash, who's with us today, and he's here in the office. And I'm wondering if you don't mind sharing your chair for just a couple minutes so he can come
Sure,
in and do the interview with you, because the studio was closed today. And Cash, I'm going to
sure.
have you pop into the mayor's office, and then we'll chat for a couple of minutes and learn about the exciting things that you're up to. Excellent. Cash, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you didn't expect to sit in the big chair today, but it's kind of comfy, right? Make your,
Yes.
make yourself at home. First of all, congratulations on being invited to participate in the Flag Football Olympics. That's a great achievement. Tell me a little bit about how you got there and how you were selected.
So I was playing like one of my games, and like the other coach, like we were playing against the other team. And then my quarterback and then his quarterback were like basically just doing very good. And I was catching like these amazing balls, like unpredictable catches.
Nice.
And then he invited me and my quarterback to go to Florida and participate in the Junior Olympics.
Congratulations. You were having a great game and your skills showed. So I think that's amazing. Tell us a little bit about so you mentioned it's in Florida. Where in Florida is it held?
The ESPN like
Wow.
Disney flow thing. Yeah.
Nice. That's a great place. Have you been there before?
No.
No, this is a great experience. Now, I do know that it's quite expensive to go.
Yeah.
And so you are have a little fundraiser that you're running to help pay for the travel expenses of participating in this really honor that you've been given. And I know we'd love to see you be able to get there. So tell us about that fundraiser.
So it's like a GoFundMe page where I'm trying to raise money to pay for like the air flights, the food, the car we get there. And we're just gonna like try to just like spread the
Great,
word about many
great.
people and
Great.
try
Well,
to get as many.
we would love to be able to support you. We'll make sure that our producer will, in editing, make sure that the URL for the GoFundMe page gets on the screen, and Cash, just so we know, how much are you looking to raise?
Around $4,000. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, congratulations on this honor. We will look forward to you showing us very proud and representing Woburn very well. And if those of you who are in the audience can contribute, that's great. But even if you can't contribute, if you can share the fundraiser, that's super helpful. Let's see if we can get Cash there to show off his stuff. Great. Thank you for joining us, Cash.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Wasn't Cash amazing? Welcome, Adam Chapman. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here with us today.
Thank you so much for letting me join you. Maybe next time I can go sit in the mayor's chair. That seems like a pretty good honor to have if you're going to be a guest on Today in Woburn, you know?
That's right. I feel like it's a special honor to do that. We'd love to have you anytime. And also congratulations to you and your new radio program and kicking off the new year and new home. You having fun with it?
I am. Thank you kindly. Yes, I've moved over from Boston's Rock 92.9 to producing the Toucher and Hardy morning program on 98.5 The Sports Hub. So if you listen to that program weekday mornings or in its podcast form anytime, you might hear me popping on the mic here and there.
I love it. We'd miss it if you didn't pop on the mic every once in a while. So I'm glad that you are. Now you've, in addition to the important work and the fun work that you do to entertain people and inform people, you also have done a great service in Woburn and been a longtime supporter of special education and the Woburn SEPAC. I know not everyone knows what SEPAC is and what it does. So I thought we could just start our conversation today with you kind of just catching everybody up about its important role.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity too. So the Woburn CPAC stands for Special Education Parent Advisory Council. And the name pretty much describes what we do. We're a group of parent volunteers that educate and advocate for students with disabilities in Woburn and their families. And I can give you actually a couple of examples, Samantha, of kind of what that looks like to give people an idea of what we do.
I would love that. Please do.
Excellent. So, for instance, maybe you're a parent of a kid and you had an evaluation done, and the evaluation came back that your kid is on the autism spectrum, and this is like all new to you, and you don't know what it means, and you don't know what the next steps are. We do. The CPAC has parent volunteers, myself included, that have experience with kids with various disabilities and learning differences, be it autism spectrum disorder or what have you. So we can take your hand and we can offer you a little bit of empathy, because obviously it's a really emotional thing to go through when you get a diagnosis for your kid. And as importantly, we can connect you to resources both in Woburn and in the state to kind of help you along your way. So we're here for parents at that stage of their journey with their kiddos. We're also there for parents a little further on in their journey. Maybe you got the diagnosis and your kiddo has an IEP, and you got the most recent copy of the IEP and you're preparing for your IEP meeting, and there's some things that maybe don't quite look right and you kind of don't know what to do to get ready for that big meeting. We can help you with that as well. We can connect you to advocacy resources. We can put you in touch with the right people in Woburn Public Schools to help you answer your questions, so that you make sure that you have productive IEP meetings and that your kid is getting the services that they've been promised. So that's kind of the main piece of what CPAC does. But then also, we are a state mandated group. We serve at the behest of the school committee. So the other piece of what we do is we advise the school committee. If the school committee is looking at a special education programming in Woburn, they will bring in some members of the CPAC to kind of help them along with those. We also try to give regular updates to the school committee of not necessarily individual things, but trends that we're seeing as we speak to parents and the struggles they might be having with their experiences in Woburn. So that's kind of the pretty much full scope of what the CPAC provides.
I love it. And then in addition to the sort of one-on-one things, I know you occasionally will have events and speakers and things that talk about these important topics, and really grateful. I know I've sat in and participated in a couple of those things that are really useful, and maybe even I'm not sure if CPAC runs it or just helps support it. If there's been like a job college fairs and things
Yes.
that to help
Yep.
students who might be transitioning out of our schools into their next stage of life, and help
Absolutely.
them understand what their choices and options might be.
Yep, we have one of those lined up. In fact, we have a couple of examples. We're going to have a general information meeting later on in January. If you go to our website, woburncepac.org, we keep it up to date. All the information is there because we've been really, really proactive about, what's the word I'm looking for here, about outreach in the community to get more volunteers involved in the CPAC. So it's a great opportunity for you to come and kind of learn more about who we are, what we do. And then in February, we'll team up as we do every school year with the Federation for Children with Special Needs. We're a member of their MassPAC organization. Woburn Public Schools is great about paying our way into that every year so that we can take advantage of the great resources that MassPAC and FCSN have to offer. One of those is a free workshop every year because the new IEP form rolled out in the Woburn School District this school year. We're going to have a workshop on that sometime in February. And then, as you mentioned, Samantha, we have what started years ago as the Woburn SEPAC College Fair has now grown into the Woburn SEPAC College and Transition Fair. So whether you have a kid that is moving up from preschool to grade school, in Woburn, grade school to middle school to high school, we always have great representatives from Woburn there to answer any questions that you have about those transitions. And then more importantly, the transition out of Woburn Public Schools and into whatever your kid is going to be doing after they graduate. Maybe it's college. We have colleges that come and present. We specifically handpick colleges that have great programming for kids who learn differently or who have disabilities. And we also have postgraduate programs for kids that might not be ready for college, or college might not be the path for them. And this is the important part, Samantha, is we keep it small and intimate, between 12 and 18 programs. So it's not like a 200 school cattle call in a gymnasium where it's super noisy and kids that might have sensory processing issues feel like I can't really get into that. It's really accessible. You get a lot of one-on-one time, a lot of opportunity to ask questions of the different representatives from the different programs. And again, it's a little bit smaller, a little bit quieter at the high school cafeteria. So stay tuned for details on that. that. I can pretty much tell you it's the last Wednesday of March because it's always the last one.
I love it. Well, I think that's wonderful. I had one of my children who went to a four-year college, has since graduated from a four-year college, but particularly chose that school in part because they offered him the most money, and that certainly was a factor. But we had only applied to programs that had really great transitional support efforts to help them transition into school. They needed a little bit of extra care, and they had a great program, and he was only in it for one semester, but it was exactly what he needed to be able to do that. And we find these types of programs by these types of environment and the work that CPAC does. So thank you for doing that. We're really appreciative of that. Now, it doesn't run by magic.
No.
It runs by volunteers like yourself, and there are some volunteers that you're actively looking for to help fill out and round out some positions on CPAC. Tell us a little bit about the folks that you would love to join you in this mission.
Anyone with a passion for serving the community, first and foremost. We are a service group. We are a volunteer group. So that's the main thing. And I feel, as you probably have seen, you did that great fair recently. The volunteer fair, Samantha, that you headed up, that the city ran, was tremendous. It was encouraging to see. At a time where we need more people to step up and volunteer, people were interested in doing that. So that first and foremost is what we're here for. But obviously, parents of kids with disabilities are a great fit for the work the CPAC does. But you don't have to have a kid with a disability. You can be a member even if you're not. If you feel passionate about the disability community, if you feel passionate about special education. And the great thing about the CPAC too, Samantha, is we're recruiting for everybody. I mean, if you have an hour a month to spare or an hour a week to spare, we can use your skill set. We're looking for parent liaisons at the different schools. We're looking for community outreach people, and we're looking for people that might be looking to make a greater commitment and eventually end up on the CPAC board, which sounds like it's kind of a big deal. And it is kind of a big deal, but it's not as big of a time commitment as you think it was. I can tell you all about it. Don't worry about it.
I love that. And that's really important. So for those folks who might be interested in volunteering in any of those capacities, obviously showing up to one of the events coming up is a great way to learn about it. But also, do they reach out to you, or what's the best place for them to reach out to learn more?
Sure can. I'll plug the website again. It's a great resource in general, WoburnSEPAC.org. We've spent years now really making it robust with information and resources from within Woburn Public Schools, from throughout the community in Woburn, and even into the state. I mentioned the college fair earlier. We have a page that lives on the website year round that has those great resources for transition for all ages. So you can find out about the CPAC there, and you can reach out to us. Our email is right there up the front, wps.cpac@gmail.com. But again, the best hub is just to go to WoburnSEPAC.org. Poke around a little bit, get a little bit of an idea of what we're about, and then reach out. We're checking the email every day. Let us know who you are, what you're interested in doing, and we would love to meet with you.
Awesome. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. I'm very excited for the work you're doing and for the upcoming programs that are happening. It really is an important link to the community for people to understand things that can be confusing or overwhelming, or a great opportunity to help. If it's something that maybe you've been through. My kids are all out of school at this point, but I often will chat with folks in an unofficial capacity, because I definitely don't have the experience that you and the other CPAC members have. But having been through things is really helpful, and so volunteers who can help out and just be an empathetic set of ears and help where they can, I think are wonderful. So thank you for providing that opportunity.
We appreciate you bringing me in. And yes, we're a great resource. We're here for you, and we would love to have you join us. So thanks again, Samantha.
Excellent. Next up, I'm going to welcome Mark from the Woburn Chamber of Commerce. Hey, Mark, welcome. We're going to talk about another way that people can get involved and improve their quality of life and all kinds of things. You've got a health fair coming up. Tell us a little bit about what inspired that.
We do. Well, we figured, it's the first of the year. People want to get healthy, right? So why not host a health fair?
Yeah, I love it. It's a great way to get us motivated. I set some of my own goals that I would say that I haven't quite fulfilled yet the first 6 days of January. But I'm committed now. I have no more excuses. So I'm excited that we're doing that. I think this is the first time the Chamber's done a health fair, correct?
From what I understand, it is, and it goes kind of beyond just like, physical fitness. Everyone's all, there'll be mental health specialists will be there. We're looking at financial specialists, just kind of like you know, we have dental clinics, we have gyms, we have just pretty much, you know, we have med spas. So it's kind of, you know, a mix of the Woburn community, some outside businesses, for just everyone to come out. It's free for the public, you know,
Right.
to come out, kind of walk through. I think we have all in all 31 or 32 vendors.
Great.
You know, so yeah, it's again, everyone has a chance to come on out and see what everyone has to offer, the services that are provided.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
glad that you mentioned there's, you know, financial planning and dentists and fitness and, you know, mental health and all the things that go towards living a complete and fulfilling life. And it's nice to learn about all the resources that are in our community to do that. Tell us a little bit about where it's going to be held and when it's going to be.
Yeah, so it's going to be on Sunday, January 12th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Crown Plaza in Woburn. Yeah, at 15 Middlesex Canal, I believe it is. It's the address.
Excellent. That's a great
Yeah.
place for things like this. And
It's a good venue.
yeah, it is wonderful. Do folks need to register ahead of time or can they just show up?
So we would love for people to register just so we have an idea of how many people will be coming. You know, we'd love to get, 100, 200, 300 people coming through the door. So you can register at woburnchamber.org under the events. It is the health fair. So yes, we would like them to register, but it's not a requirement. Just come on out and spread the word.
Right. Great. I love it. I think it sounds really like a great opportunity to focus on yourselves, a great way to start off the 2025 year and go out and, hey, meet some new people and see what's happening in our community and drag a friend along with you and make some shared
Yeah.
goals together.
Well, it's going to be cool too, because there's going to be concessions there for people. We're going to have some businesses that are going to provide samples, food samples, their teas, their protein drinks. So and the gyms are going to do some demos on the stage. There's going to be a DJ, so it's going to be a fun event, and it's family friendly.
I think that sounds really fun, actually. So have a little tasty new drink, have a little something to nibble on, listen to some music, set yourself a little goal, have some fun, all of that. So excellent. Thank you for bringing that to our community.
Well, thank you for sharing. We appreciate it.
Excellent. Woburn, we've talked a lot today about a lot of things that are happening in our community. We are fortunate to live in a vibrant place that is full of organizations and people who care and work together to make this a great place. Some of you know, or hopefully most of you know, we did announce we'll be opening up a community resource center later this month. We're working very hard to get that ready. That is space that was donated at no cost to the city. We're really grateful to the Cummings Foundation for doing that for us and excited to bring that to you. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll have a little sneak peek to show and we'll tell you a little bit about the open house we're planning. We're just getting ready for do that. So happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. And as always, Woburn, let's continue to take good care of each other.